He won't, his endurance won't be great. And we'll see how much he can do, but he's ready. He's ready for it. He's not going to be as good as he will be later on in the year as he continues to build up strength and endurance and get experience. But sooner or later, it's time for him to get out there, and we've done everything we can do to prepare him. And I feel like he's ready to do it. And rather than bring him in out of the bullpen, I just think the best thing for him is first time, certainly, to go through a starter's routine, get himself ready with Allen down in the pen, and go out there with the game clean and see what he can do. So we're going to go ahead and start him, and like I said, it'll be a in-game decision on how long he'll go.
Is Watson any closer to coming back?
I thought he was. I was really coming in today hoping that he would be, but he's not. So yeah, I'd be very surprised if we saw him this weekend. We're actually going to send him for an MRI this afternoon. It's just, it's actually the pain has changed. It was up higher on his side. Now it's a little bit lower. It's just really been befuddling to us, and so we're going to just, for peace of mind, get a scan of it and see what it looks like, and let the doctors, evaluate it. We still think it's a muscular problem, but it's been really kind of frustrating for everybody that it's taken so long.
How about the team effort, though, with both he and Josh out, their ability to hold the rope?
Nobody's proud of being 5-4. That's not the kind of record we would expect to have, but we've played some outstanding competition, I believe, and we're getting better. I thought last night our kids really played a good game, and their pitcher, he befuddled us. We had a little bad luck early. We had a leadoff hit by Cabrera, and then a pop-up that should have been caught, but because it wasn't caught, they throw Cabrera out at second base, and now we got a slower runner on first, and then we start him on the pitch, and Fiducia hits a double that you would see a guy score from first when he's running on the pitch, especially with 2 outs, but Austin is, not as fast as Cabrera, so we had to hold him at third, couldn't get the hit. Second inning, just bad luck. Hal Hughes got a beautiful swing with 2 outs and a runner on second base and hit a ball that looked like it was destined to be a single up the middle for an RBI, and it hit the pitcher in the foot. And got a base hit out of it, but we had to hold the runner at third, obviously, and then he didn't score. So we had a little bad luck there in those first 2 innings, and then after that kid just stymied us for the next 5 innings. And then, like we've been doing all year, making a habit out of coming from behind. And our guys really, I thought they battled hard. We had some really good performances out of the bullpen. And, we were right there. Bases loaded, 1 out. Our cleanup hitter up. I probably would have bet, if I was a betting man, I probably would have bet a paycheck that Fiducia was going to drive in at least the tying run there. And it didn't really quite work out the way that we had hoped. The worst case scenario happened. He hits into a double play to end the game. But I was really proud of the guys, Mike. I just think that they played, they were it was a difficult environment, that it was really intense, and the great majority of the fans were for the other team, and it wasn't a nasty, hostile environment. They had some students out there on the parking garage, having some fun, but it was good for our guys to be in that experience. I wish we could have grown and won the game at the same time. You toss and turn all night with games like that, but I just feel like we're in the right direction, and with Labus coming back, and I don't think Storrs is going to be all that far behind. Actually, John Kodros threw his first bullpen today and looked pretty good. So I think there's help on the way with our pitching. I wish we could get Watson back, and obviously Josh we're going to have to be a little more patient for, but I think the guys are playing hard, and they're not playing that poorly, and when we get good pitching, we got a chance. I just wish we could not fall into such deep of a hole each game. But I just feel it in my bones that it's coming, and I feel very positive that we're going to be okay.
Even if you're not getting Watson back, how do you guys kind of attack this lefty? I know that's something that's giving you some trouble lately.
Yeah, well, I would expect that we'll have 3 left-handers in the lineup, with Cabrera, Duplantis, and Fiducia. And actually, Duplantis is leading our team in hitting against left-handed pitching. And Fiducia, he hangs in there. I mean, you can tell it doesn't bother him that a kid's hitting left-handed. My bigger concern is with Daniel, just that, he just hasn't had as much experience at the collegiate level facing left-handed pitchers. But he tells me he hit lefties good in high school, and I trust him. And we watched some film with him today facing the lefties that he's faced, and he's had 10 plate appearances already. So we got to get him going. But what's hurt us is some of the right-handed hitters haven't been hitting the lefties. Last night Jake Slaughter hit a 3-run homer against a left-hander, and what a huge lift that was for the team, because we need guys like Slaughter, to rise up against the left-handed pitching and carry a big portion of the weight. So I'm trying not to place too much emphasis on what hand the pitcher throws with, but not only tomorrow night, but we'll face another lefty on Saturday night. So we're going to face a lot of them in the SEC. When I look at the staffs in the SEC, there's going to be a lot of left-handers down the road. So we're going to figure it out, that's for sure.
Can you talk about Hilliard, his pitching so far is flawless.
Yeah, I thought McHale was really great this week, and it encourages me to give him an expanded role. And there's a good chance that this weekend he's going to be in an expanded role, I guess is the best way for me to say it. I don't want to tip my cards too much about when that might be, but McHale is good because of a lot of reasons. I mean, we talked about his cut fastball, and we talk about his breaking ball, but he's also a very athletic pitcher in the sense that he's very quick to the plate, which can stop the other team from running, stealing bases. And he's got a little bit of that it factor. He doesn't carry himself real cocky, but you can tell he's a very confident kid out there. So I think he'll field his position well and so forth. And as he matures and grows up and becomes more and more dependable, I'm hoping that we can count on him more and more.
Brandon's got starter stuff.
Here he goes, dominating all the questions. Yeah, Brian, you need to talk louder and faster.
I'm losing my voice.
Go ahead, Mike. What's your question?
Does he have starter type stuff? Is he a guy that you can see in a role?
He could. Yeah, I think he's a versatile guy. Initially I thought he'd be an end-of-the-game guy. Allen feels as though he's got a chance to pitch multiple innings, and then the other day he did. He could have gone a fifth inning. I just wanted to get Cabrera out there. So, hey, he only threw 43 pitches in 4 innings of work, and he got a double play in there, which helped. But that's partially because he made a big pitch, to be able to get the ground ball. So, yeah, I could see McHale having a much more expanded role on our staff.
His high school coach called it a quiet confidence. Is that a good way to describe it?
That's a good way to describe it. Yeah, McHale's not a very vocal kid. He doesn't, spout off much at all. And you kind of don't know he's there. But when he's out there on the mound, I don't think he does anything to show up his opponents, but you could just tell he oozes in confidence. And when you lead your team to a state championship, that's a pretty big deal. And so I'm sure he is a really confident kid.
Broussard and Hughes.
Who?
Broussard and Hughes would be more pleasantly surprised. One error between them, they're not striking out, and they get hits.
Brian, those two kids, I love them both. Well, they're both coaches' sons, so I can relate to them. Brant played at U-High for his father, and Hal didn't play for his father, Pete, but was around the game his whole life. And I just think both of those guys have played tremendous baseball and have done everything really that we've asked them to do. Hal had his first error yesterday, and as soon as he came into the dugout, he comes up to me and told me exactly what he did wrong. So he had already analyzed it, and we'll make the correction. I mean, nobody's going to be perfect, of course, but both of those kids have been, I wouldn't call them surprises at all, because Brant, played so great at Delgado last year, and you could see he was a really good defensive player this fall. He just didn't hit much, and now you can just see he's got that little bit of gamer in him where his bat speed is greater in the games than it is in practice, and I always said Hal was going to be a good defensive player, and he's swinging the bat really well and having very productive at bats. So those guys are going to continue to grow and keep getting better, and I think they'll have a good year.
Are you encouraged by the outings you've gotten out of your lefties, Peterson and Bush?
I tell you, both of those guys, I'm glad you brought them up, James, because I thought Nick did a super job yesterday getting us off to a start, and if he wasn't so valuable out of the pen, he would be a candidate. We discussed that a lot today about possibly even starting him, but I think the more times we can utilize him, the better. And I'll tell you, the last 2 outings by Taylor Peterson have been cause for a lot of optimism. You know, when I took the ball from him yesterday on the mound, I told him right there on the mound, I said, man, you're growing on me, you know. What I really loved about his performance yesterday is he went 3-0 on a hitter and then came back and struck him out with 3 straight strikes, as opposed to, you know, giving up after 3 balls and losing confidence. That tells you a guy's got something in him, and those are the things that I look for in players. So going forward, I think, you know, having both those guys, and, you know, maybe John Kodros will step up. I told you he threw a bullpen today, and, you know, if he's healthy, I don't think, you know, because he's not going to pitch extended outings, I don't think we're going to have to wait long to try to run him back out there. So we might get him back fairly quickly as well.
Is Nowak still out for this weekend?
I think so. I don't have an update on him, honestly, Luke. He, you know, we found out earlier this week that he was diagnosed with mono, and then they were going to do additional tests to see at what stage it was. But my experience with dealing with kids with mono is it usually takes a while, even if they're on the back stages of it. They just don't have energy and don't have the strength and that type of things, even if they're not contagious anymore. So I'm not really counting on him this weekend, but I don't have anything official on that.
Bo, in recent years you've said you want him to avoid looking for the big swing, trying to be a home run hitter, but he's had a lot of the big swings for you this year. Has he kind of grown a little bit as a hitter?
Oh, I think you know, when he stays short with his swing, he's a good hitter. When he gets long, you know, yesterday in batting practice, he must have hit 20 balls out in BP. He killed our ball supply for batting practice. The wind was blowing out, it was warm, and he was feeling good. And, you know, and then he gets in the game, and he kind of tries to do the same thing. And he had a chance, you know, early in the game, and I think runners were at second and third, if I'm not mistaken, with 2 outs. And, you know, his swing got long, and he hit a little tapper back to the pitcher. So he just, you know, Sean does a really great job with Bo, but he needs constant reminding that he's got to use the whole field, and he's got to have a short swing, and he just can't, you know, try to hit home runs. His home runs will come when he's not trying to hit them. When he tries to hit them, that's when he becomes an easier out.
You said after the game last night about Todd Peterson, you were thinking about a relief role or a middle relief,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, well, I think Todd's still got a good arm, and I think there's a role that he can help us with. You know, he gave up the single. You know, I took full blame for that last night because, you know, we have spray charts that show where a guy has an inclination to hit the ball, and we set up our defense that way. But I didn't communicate it well enough to Allen, and we got 2 strikes on Taylor, and Allen tried to waste the pitch off the plate, and it actually was outside by about 6 inches, and the kid just reached out and flipped it into right field, right through the big hole that we had created over there. So, you know, you have to pitch to how you have your defense set up. So that really wasn't Todd Peterson's fault. He made a really good pitch, and the defense wasn't set up for it. Then the home run was not a good pitch. He threw a changeup, and he should have put it down, and he left it up, and a good hitter took advantage of it. But then he came back and pitched a shutout inning right after that. And you got to remember, even when he was starting against Texas, he pitched 2 shutout innings before they got 4 runs off him in 1 inning. So Todd's going to help us. I'm not down on him. He's gonna help us. He's just had a rough start to the season, but I'm not giving up on him. No way. Well, you know, I like to do that every so often, Mike, because I think it's good practice for our kids. Originally, we were supposed to play a 3-game series with Sacred Hart, and then the coach at the University of Toledo is an old assistant coach of mine, and he wanted to come down, so I said, well, we'll put the 2 of you together. Well, then Southeastern had somebody cancel on them the weekend series, so they called and asked a favor, hey, do you think we could jump in as well? So now we got a 4-team thing. But what I like about it is it kind of simulates a little bit regional in this sense that, you know, the first day we'll take batting practice on the field and do our normal routine. The first game starting at 1 and we're starting at 7. So I think there'll be enough time. But on days 2 and 3, all of our game preparation will be indoors. And then all we'll do is come out and take pregame infield and outfield. So our hitting will be indoors. And that's a good thing for our guys to have to get used to, and playing 3 different opponents. So puts adds a little spice to the schedule, I think, by doing it that way as opposed to just a 3-game series. But then next weekend against Hawaii, we'll get back to a 3-game series and get ready for SEC play that way. By playing this type of tournament?
Just with your injuries and your rotation.
Yeah, but of course, Mike. You know, we've lost. You know, played the first weekend without Fiducia, which obviously you saw the way that he's throwing base stealers out now. Who knows if the opening weekend would have been a little bit different if he'd have been in there. You know, they were stealing bases at will against us the opening weekend. Now we've lost Josh. Our pitching has, we basically until yesterday when Vittmeyer came back, we had 6 pitchers out. So, you're a little bit short-handed. Like, okay, here's the situation last night. You probably all were wondering why I wasn't bunting in the 9th inning. Well, number one, I didn't want to go extra innings. I didn't have anybody in the bullpen. I only took 8 pitchers last night to Hammond, and 8 pitchers pitched. So, I think I had one more guy in the bullpen, Clay Moffitt. But, I was like, hey, I don't want to tie it and go extra innings. We got to try to take the lead right now. But then the second thing is, all right, so I'm not going to play for the bunt with the first. After Webb gets a hit, I'm not going to bunt Cabrera because I don't want to play for the tie. But once we get first and second, now the prudent thing to do is the bunt. But I got Austin Bain up, who never has bunted in his life. He doesn't even practice bunting, okay? But I can't pinch hit for him with a guy that can bunt like Chris Reed, because now Chris Reed's got to go in and play shortstop for Hal Hughes, who I pinch hit for. So if I would have used Reed to pinch hit and then put him into the field, well, actually I wouldn't even have been. The umpire was wrong last night. I wouldn't even have been allowed to put him into the field. But he told me if I put him in the field, then I'd have to take Bain out of the game, and I didn't want to take Bain out of the game in the 9th inning. So I had to let Bain hit. And we got fortunate that he chopped one in the infield, which essentially was the same as a sacrifice bunt. But my point I'm making, Mike, is that we're just a little bit short-handed right now. It limits the amount of moves you can make and how you can use guys, and affects strategy and those type of things. So yeah, it affects us. But at the same time, I think we're finding out a lot about our team, some positive, some things that, we're going to have to improve upon. I wish we won every game. I wish we were 9-0, but we're not. But I think we've played some really good teams, and I think we're finding out a lot about our team. And now I want to find out more about our team and get them ready for SEC play, but I also want to win the game. So that's what we're going to try and do.
Along those lines, out of curiosity, without Watson, who's your emergency outfield? Who's number 5?
Well, that's a good question. Right now, if Nick Webb's not in the lineup, he's the next guy. But I don't know. We'd take somebody and just hopefully they can catch a fly ball out there. I don't have 4 extra position players on the bench, and that's when Bain's pitching. That's when Bain's a DH. If Bain isn't even, if you just count him as a pitcher, I only got 3 extra guys on the bench right now. So we're pretty limited in the moves that we can make right now. Yeah. Okay, good enough?